What's up, folks? You're listening to a YouTube StreamYard edition of Hitting the High Notes Jazz Talking I. I am here, the voice, not just invading your ear holes, but now visually. You can see me on YouTube, or you can follow me on the Twitterverse at Hootran. That's HUUTRAN Superman. At Jazz High Notes number 2. That's JAZZ High Notes number 2. And I am here. He beans. He's the bean on the scene number 1 on Twitter. Let's welcome in. What's up, Alma Bean? What? How cool is that transition, huh?
Right? Like now, like as you're introducing people, like face to the name. It's not just whatever random quip I put out there to start off the show.
I need to get behind me. There's some TVs, so I need to get like graphics of myself or something to put up there. So, but yeah, we're here with Alma Bean. We're recording on StreamYard, trying out some new technology that I have access to. So this one will be on YouTube. Hopefully it won't cause editing problems. We'll see in a little bit here. But Alma, look, we are less than 7 days away. We were almost Dante X number of days away, right? Dante X was 5.
Yes.
We're almost Dante X numbers days away from the NBA draft. And you would think, again, a month and a half ago, Jazz pulled the number 2 pick, or a month ago, I guess. Jazz pulled the number 2 pick. Life was good. Life was easy. And then things got complicated. So, Cam Boozer's making some headway. A lot of guys out there. Kevin O'Connor, former Utah Jazz GM. Well, not actually, but the namesake. Talking about it. You got Bill Simmons, the entertainer, talking about it. Even Zach Lowe mentioned a little bit today on his podcast. Kind of like, hey, and again, I said it a month ago. I said it a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, any of those names that I hear Tuesday night, okay with. So all this noise, just noise, to me at least. I think you're kind of in the same boat there.
Yeah, no, those top 3 guys, it's any Jazz fan should be happy with getting any of those 3 players. And I mean, it's a good problem to have. You have to pick amongst the top 3 talent in the entire draft. Like, oh no, like what else could you have that is such a large problem like that? So I think that whoever falls to Utah, whether that is Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, Utah is going to be able to build around a great young talented player. Now, how they will go ahead and do that, that's a bigger question that we honestly can't answer until draft day comes.
That's fine, yeah.
But I think it's really interesting, given the new information that has popped up over the last handful of days, especially with Darren Peterson canceling his workout with the Jazz. And you having fun with the video there? He's like, I can see myself.
Yeah.
But Darren Peterson canceling his workout with the Utah Jazz because his can't believe that there's no reason that he shouldn't be going number 1.
Zach Lowe talked about it. Zach Lowe talked about it. Chad Lowe, his brother, talked about it. Ramona Shelburne. There's a lot of people who are just out there going, it doesn't mean. Ben Anderson talked about it. Doesn't really mean anything. Nobody's shocked. Nobody's in Utah's back rooms. Shout out to the movie. Are thinking, oh no, this is not really shocked. Not really pressed by it. So it's a much ado about nothing thing. It's part of there is a big segment of fans who seem to, like, any little slight, they're like, oh man, I can't believe this person's trying to ditch you. They have some Denver Nuggets blogger out there aggregating and jumping to conclusions that this means Peterson doesn't want to go to Utah. Doesn't mean any of that. We're jumping to conclusions. But also, that leads into this almost the same day. Sam Amick, and people are on the radio. I think who was it? Mark Stein coming out and the Walker Kessler situation, something that we've been monitoring for a while, something we probably didn't need to worry about until after the draft. coming out saying, "Oh, Walker's camp and the Jazz camp are really far away." Nothing really new, but now that the Jazz are kind of in the limelight right now, so this is just like, oh, there's this thing, Walker Kessler, doesn't seem very happy. But then literally like what 2.5 hours ago, Walk is on Instagram, a post that with a bunch of hyphens in it, or M dashes, I guess, talking about like, oh, I love it here, I love Utah. You don't make roots where you don't want to be. So that seems again much ado about nothing, but Jazz fans have this, and it's not just Jazz fans. It's sports fans. Sports fans have this like persecution complex, like, oh, I can't believe it's going to come here. The bigger question is the number, right? Like, it sounds like the number. Well, depending on like what the math that you do, some people say 5 years. Some you have to divide by 5.8 years. So Walker's turned down something like $24 to $28 million a year, which I've asked you plenty of times. I've asked you I asked you this question when Logan Dragon Squatch was still on this podcast. How much is too much for Walker Kessler? This is something that we've been talking about for a while, and I know that numbers kind of changed a little bit. Like the ideal number is 25, which is I think what the Jazz offered. It sounds right. Walker Kessler not happy with that. I think at one point you did say 35 million wouldn't be that awful, but here we are, probably a year removed from that conversation. And your new number was like 30, you said today in our group chat.
Yeah, 30 million would be like what I personally would want to max. So I mean, 5 years, 150 million, and just I'm assuming if the camp and the organization are that far apart, I'm sure that the camp is trying to get what is max for him, which is 5 years, 241 million. I think that's what the max is for him.
Yeah.
Which obviously your camp should always try to fight to get the most money for you. But, realistically, you got to think he's a limited offensive player. That doesn't normally work in today's NBA games, whatever. Injury prone. What? 2 of the 4 years that he's been with the team, he has had a major injury of some kind. If you want to say major injury, especially last year being out for pretty much the entire year.
Jared wrote this in the group chat about injury concerns. Like, so here's the thing, and I'm not a doctor, but I have watched every episode of House, so my medical opinion is kind of up there. But look, maybe Walker, Walker obviously had a season-ending surgery last year. I wonder if the injuries that he's had were injuries that the Jazz were like, yes, please go take care of it, now, as opposed to like if the Jazz were competing for a championship, one of those like, well, can we manage it with physical therapy, whatever, right? And I wonder if the Jazz with JJJ, Lowry, anything that was like, oh, is there something that we can take care of now? This is the best time to do it because in a year or two, you're going to hope that you can play through some minor pain or whatever, right? So I don't know, but the injury thing is what it is, I think.
Well, because he also had the lower back injuries as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, like, I don't believe we ever got an answer on if that was just something that needed rest or if that required some sort of PT, surgery, something. Yeah. So that's something that's on my radar, especially if he is going to be a large pain presence. That back is going to take a lot of damage over time. So if it's already something that is hurting him now, that's something that would concern me in contract offers, at least for me, couch GM over here.
Right, and so like you said, of course, this camp wants to get the most amount of money possible, and and one of the main things I asked, especially from his rookie year, I said, what kind of player is he going to be? I think he's an amazing rebounder. He's a rim protector. We've talked about his defects already. But yeah, but like he was good, and I think the Jazz, when they made the trips trade to get Triple J, Walker Kessler was a very big piece of why that kind of works. Having Triple J and Walker out there seems like a good combo. And we've heard the reports of the Jazz turning down like the Vanka Zubac offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a good chance the Jazz keep. Do you, as a fan, do you? How am I going to ask this? Do you, as a fan, think the Jazz have handled this correctly with Walker by not signing him to an early extension and let him hit restricted free agency? Letting these rumors and stuff circulate during this time period where hurt feelings could be out there, speculated, I guess.
I think it's just fine, to be completely honest. Like, I mean, at least Walker is coming out and saying, like, hey, I honestly do not want to go anywhere. Like, this is where I would like to be. That also could be a PR thing, just so then, like, nothing comes back to him. Who knows? Only his camp is going to know, and the front office is going to know.
Yeah.
But I think that the front office, they're trying to show, like, hey, there is a market for you, but you need to understand what that market is. Is everyone going to want to pay you top dollar? Probably not. Like, especially with a limited offensive bag that he has, even though he has openly stated, or at least his camp has openly stated, that he wants to stretch his offensive game. That's not what Will Hardy wants him to do. He wants him to focus on his defensive prowess first. And once he believes that he has reached the pinnacle of being that defensive big, then we'll work on growing your offensive game. The camp says, hey, he wants to shoot threes. He wants to play like he did in high school and like he played at Auburn. Like, he wants to show that he can be a threat on the perimeter, but we haven't really seen that much with the Jazz. And for, I guess, the little circus tricks that we've seen of it, it hasn't necessarily been too successful. Granted, I will say I was jumping, hooting, and hollering when he made 2 threes back to back. Like, I'm not gonna ignore that, but I think that's smart from the front office, because then you'll actually see what the market's looking like. Because according to that article that Chandler Holt put out earlier today,
KSL Sports Chandler Holt.
Yeah, KSL Sports Chandler Holt. Love that man. Have known him since I've moved to the state. So good man. Follow his stuff 100%. He stated that Kessler's camp is looking to get closer to $40 million a year. So, I mean, based off of what offer we were told, which is the 5-year 140, so that's about $28 million a year, going to $40 million of what the camp's looking for. I'm just assuming that this information is getting out as a negotiating tactic. So I wouldn't be shocked if we saw something settle around that $35 million number. And I've said this on the show. I think that $30 million should be the max, but I also have watched multiple free agencies play out. I have watched multiple off seasons play out. And, sometimes you pay a little bit of extra dollar, and maybe there will be some clause or something in there. Like, maybe instead of a player option, it's a team option that's thrown in there. Or maybe there's more money built into incentives, so then he can try and prove to himself that he is worth that money. And then that's something that can be brought up in the next contract negotiation. Now, as far as other teams, you're starting to hear, like, say, Atlanta or the Lakers, Golden State. Those
Doubles.
are teams that are all trying to get in on the Kessler sweepstakes. But do we honestly think that any of those teams are going to offer around $40 million a year?
Just take, as someone on the Zach Low podcast basically said, it only takes one dumb team, though.
And which team do you think that would be? Like, what
Could
team
be
do you think? Because, like, me personally, Atlanta has overpaid centers in the past.
Could be the Hawks. Yeah, I mean, Chris Snyder,
and that's hometown team for him. Like, he could even be willing to, like, go play in front of mom and dad, and
look, it takes we talked about the risk of this, and I bring it up because a lot of people are bringing up this is very similar to what happened with Gordon Hayward. 2012, 2013 free agency. The Jazz offered, and this is crazy because the Jazz offered back then, which was a big contract, to Derek Favors, 4 years, 50-ish million, something like 12 and a half a year. And Gordon Hayward was offered something similar. He said, no, I don't want to do that. Jazz said, okay, same thing. Go out there. And Charlotte went and gave Gordon the max, which, crazy to think that the max back then was 4 years, 63, and here we are talking, 13 years later, and Walker's contract is like more than double that. So, yeah, I mean, look, there's a chance that that happens again, but I think with the way Walker plays now, I think, I mean, look, we're looking at centers as more like complementary pieces to, guys who have switchability, the JJJs, the Baileys, whoever this number 2 pick's going to be. Guys can play multiple. Centers are just kind of hard because they're kind of stuck at that one position. Maybe they slipped down to the 4, but that means you got to have another good 5 that can play. The Rudy Goberts, the Hartensteins, those guys are primarily 5s. They don't play other positions. The Mitchell Robinsons, right? So centers kind of they just take a hit because they don't have the same sort of flexibility as a DeBonsa, as a Bailey, Boozer, what have you, right? So guys can play multiple positions. So, like I said, like you said, like you think the number is going to come out near 35 million. You said, I mean, you had said 30 million was your like, this is where you feel comfortable, you feel queasy. But at 35 million, let's fast forward 3 weeks. Say the contract is 35 million. The Jazz have to match. What does your gut say as a fan?
Prove it. That will be my immediate reaction. Is that's the contract that you were fighting for?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a bit of an overpay.
Right.
Prove you're worth it. Because
but so at that point you're not yelling at the Jazz if they match that contract for Walker Kessler.
No, because I mean,
okay.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Kessler, and I have been since he's been traded to the Jazz, and I have stated it for multiple years on this show.
So I will say that the 30 million, I guess is just your queasy number, but it's not your like let him walk number. What is your let him walk number then?
If Utah caves at 40, no. Like that
40.
Like that 40, regardless of him coming back, like there will be the moment of awesome. Utah has their like main defensive big back. You're getting your entire front court back, along with Jaren Jackson Jr. Like now you can see those 3 guys finally play with Markkanen, Triple J, and Kessler. That will be first reaction. But then as it starts to settle and the money starts really kicking in my brain, I'll just be like, man, it's going to take one injury or 1 week of bad games, and immediately I'm just going to be like, why did Utah pay him that much? Look, I'm sure a lot of the other fans, they'll just wait for one bad game, and they're like, oh, I can't believe the Jazz paid him this much.
There's like I'm looking at the camps out there. There are people who are like, well, you can't let them walk for nothing. So, and here's the thing: I think the Jazz, even if someone gave them the full $40 to $45 million a year, I think the Jazz have a plan. The Jazz have turned down offers. I think they will match it. And again, it only takes one dumb team. It only takes one team to go, you know what? Even if he doesn't sign with us, this is going to really hurt a nice young and upcoming Utah team that has, DeBonsa or Peterson or Boozer on the team. If we want to slow the progression down a little bit, let's just throw the bag at Walker Kessler. We know that we know that we're not going to get him, but this will poison pill that roster, stuck an apron them for a guy that probably shouldn't be paid that much. And Utah's backed themselves into a corner because they've had telegraphed that, hey, we turned down multiple firsts for him. So like there's a chance again, one dumb team, one team that says, we're going to offer this money to Walker Kessler. That's going to ruin the plan. So again, my number really anything north of 33, 34, I'll be on this podcast going, I think the Jazz should let him go. But that's where we're at that.
But we also know that I'm also way more lenient on Kessler than you are.
No,
I mean,
and
there are
that's fine.
multiple players
Yep.
on this team that I am more lenient on than you are.
Yeah.
But
Well, you gotta have one. You gotta have one parent who's kind of the stricter one, and one parent who like, okay, you want to try to get away with something, you go to Alma. So, um, and again, we're 6 days away from what should be one of the greatest days in Jazz history. Um, you know, Apologies to the Golden Griff. I wasn't alive back then when the Jazz made the last number 2 pick. And the again, Doug Griffith was fine, but he was. I think that was the Kevin McHale draft too. Where the Jazz probably should have drafted Kevin McHale instead, but this is just one of those like okay, cool. Like we all feel really good about who's there in the top 3. We're gonna play a little game here. Alma, you reached out to the site or you on the site. You said ESPN. ESPN uses it, and they're the world leader in sports, so we got to use it. We're gonna do a little mock draft. Hopefully, it only takes 20-ish minutes to do this mock draft, but let's pull it up here for those who are watching on YouTube. We got it visually right there.
Very pretty look.
2026 draft simulator. All the noise. So look, I don't know if you. I know that you were betting on player props. I don't know if you bet on Kalshi or Pauling Rocket or whatever. Let's say $50 because the odds have changed in the last 2 days with all the news. Darren Peterson and now like we went from like plus 500 to probably I guess half that right now. Where are you putting your money on? Who's going to go number 1?
Well, after the news that dropped maybe a couple of hours ago, I actually think that Darren Peterson is almost guaranteed to go number 1.
Are you going to make that bet then? Because like if you bet like $50, you have a chance to win. For every $5, it's like $750 or whatever. So that could be a way to get you a little bit of a scratch for Vegas coming up.
Maybe. I don't know. But, Trae Young declining his player option, which was like, what, $48 million?
48 mil. Yeah, that's a big number.
I mean, the report says that he's still like open to negotiating with them.
Yeah, ESPN tweeted out Wizards are still in the quote-unquote driver's seat. So,
but it also said that there are multiple teams that are willing to max him. I think read that report right.
Is that the Bulls?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know what team that would be. But if you're going to be losing your starting point guard, Darren Peterson, a player who at the combine said, I am a point guard, even though a lot of people want to project him as a shooting guard.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Darren Peterson is the guy that they are looking at. And with the report that Darren Peterson canceled his workout with the Utah Jazz because the camp believes that there is no way that he's going past 1. Maybe that was some intel that they knew ahead of time. Maybe they already knew that Trae Young was going to decline his option.
Okay. All right.
So, personally, I would say Darren Peterson goes number 1.
Okay. I would still pick. I look, if I'm making a bet, I wouldn't mind throwing a little bit of money on Peterson because, like, again, this is one of those where you bet and then you'll get more from your bet back, right? It's more than 2 to 1. But my gut feeling is DeBonsa still. I think my personal. If I'm the Wizards, number 1, you want to make sure you get someone with high upside, but you want a little bit more safety. You do not want to be the team that drafts the red flag and then you pass on Michael Jordan, right? You pass on Kevin Durant. I think the built-in safety with DeBonsa over Peterson, even though, like, personally, I do think Peterson. Again, I said it months ago. Like, if they weren't forced to play college ball, if they were allowed to come instead of draft a year earlier, Peterson would have cleared DeBonsa easily. Like there would have been no talk about it after high school, but because they were forced to play college ball. But anyway, I think Peterson DeBonsa 1-2 is probably right. So.
Yep, and I was going to say DeBonsa is the best player available at this point. So, like Utah, they just don't really have a choice in the matter. Like, take AJ DeBonsa because he is the player with the highest upside. at that point. Then you get the Memphis Grizzlies. I think they're another team where you're in a position where you just draft the best player available. And at this point, it's going to be Cam Boozer.
Cam Boozer might be the best player out of all three. Really,
and in my opinion too, I think like Cam Boozer is probably the most NBA ready of the three.
Yep, that seems to be the.
But I think I've even stated it on the show. I just don't see Boozer, even though he is the most NBA ready, I don't think that he is the most ideal NBA power forward. Just because his shooting ability isn't what it should be if you are trying to be an NBA power forward, especially in today's NBA.
Yeah,
if it was maybe like 10 years ago, Cam Boozer number one. But I think that there's still a little bit of a project. I think Memphis is a good team to explore said project. And for all we know, he could be one of the top guys for Ja Morant, and kind of take some of that attention off of Ja, to actually clear up the court a little bit more for him to go back to that explosiveness that he's used. Speaking of explosiveness, you might want to put those back in your pocket, sir.
And then my one sense about Cam Boozer is that look, if the Jazz gave me a lineup of JJJ, Boozer, Lowry, I could see it, and I wouldn't be, I wouldn't love it, but I also wouldn't be mad at it day one. So let's just go through this one quickly. Caleb Wilson, number 4, just kind of the Bulls have a really easy pick there. Number 5, Clippers, real interesting.
Me personally, I think that they're going to want some sort of guard play. So even though Keaton Wagler is probably the more talented option here, I do think that Darius Acuff will go ahead and be that pass first point guard that can definitely facilitate a little bit better for their team. They're not necessarily looking for someone that is going to be a score first type of guard, where Keaton Wagler is going to be more of that shooting guard position for them. Because now that we're like outside of like the top talented players, me personally, I would start looking to fill in gaps on rosters. And I think Darius Acuff would probably be a good filler for their team and probably get some good minutes early. Because he's going to be competing with Chris Dunn.
Hey, Jazz legend, Chris Dunn.
So I would go Darius Acuff. I'm curious what you would think would be best for the Clippers.
Yeah, I think that's looks good. Yeah.
Okay. Then with Brooklyn, this is where I find it a little weird because I mean they drafted
Brown
5
Jr.
players last year, and I think all but one stayed on the roster. So this one, I think for them, just draft the best player available. So that would be Keaton Wagler for me. Interesting. And then once you get to the Kings, they're kind of also in another position where it's just draft the best player available. Me personally, I think Kingston Flemings would be the best player available. But I don't know how I would feel about a like passing first guard for Sacramento, since they will have Domantas Sabonis back. He'll require the ball in his hands a little more often. I'm not expecting Kingston Flemings to be an off-ball guard, where Mikal Brown Jr., I could see more of that play from him. So I would take him over Flemings here.
Okay.
Atlanta, though,
the Hawks,
I would definitely take Kingston Flemings. Like, they've essentially built their entire roster around a pass-first guard that can go ahead and create on his own. I think Kingston Flemings is that type of guard. And Quinn Snyder, I'm sure he will have himself a heyday if Atlanta decides to draft him here at number 8.
I mean, he'll have a mountain full of excitement for it.
Then with Dallas, with their trade of Anthony Davis to Washington, they do have kind of a void in that front court, whether it's your power forward or center position. Even though they do have some talent there, whether it is Daniel Gafford or PJ Washington, I do think that they need to have some sort of backup, because even Derek Lively, great talent, still a limited offensive player. Even though maybe having a guard would be really nice, I think getting Nate Ament would be a really good way to have a power forward that can stretch the floor, but also have enough defensive presence to be a small ball 5. So I would like to have Nate Ament there.
I will say one sentence. A lot of the Maverick fans who came across my algorithm after the draft, they are big on Braden Berries. So, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Me.
Like, guards are really nice. And I think with the Bucks right here, take the best player available, which would be Braden Berries.
Yep. I said Braden.
Braden.
Yep.
This is what I try to get for reading a small screen. Now with Golden State, this one I've kind of been back and forth on, just because they can kind of use whatever, and it's not necessarily like they need the best player available, but
do you think they will take the oldest player available?
Potentially, because Golden State has never been a team to have a solid center. Like, they've always been a complementary piece, but they've never been like a true offensive juggernaut. Because I mean, you look at their championship teams, you got Mo Spates, Andrew Bogut, Kevon Looney. Like, those are not centers that you would like throw a bunch of money at. Granted, Andrew Bogut did get his payday at one point in time, but they've never been a team to try and get that big center.
Well, but they did win that number 2 pick a few years back. So,
and you saw what happened with that one.
Yeah.
But also you got to think, you need to find your successor to Steph Curry, and I think that that's going to be coming a little bit sooner rather than later. And again, since Golden State has always been able to makeshift their centers, I don't think that that's necessarily going to be a big concern for them. So I think LeBaron here is going to be your pick for Golden State.
I was thinking maybe, again, teams that are like making the last run, they kind of want the more ready to go product. I would have leaned Yaxel. So
interesting.
Yeah, just because I mean, like it's one of those like, oh, you want somebody who doesn't have to develop as much. They may not be that they might have the high ceiling, but like at least somebody that in year 1 or 2 can at least help you make the final push. But that's
I will say it's funny that you mentioned that specifically because that's the exact reason why I have Yaxel going to Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
because it's more of a pick and play with them rather than needing to fill a spot. So that's why I have Yaxel going here at number 12. 13, I kind of struggle a little bit with this pick because it's not like they're necessarily needing a center. Their front court, they had a bunch of injuries last year.
This could be the Bucks pick. So
it could be, potentially. Yeah. Who knows? We'll find out in the next couple of days. But I've been trying to figure out like who I would want to take with this pick, and I think at this point you just need to find somebody that's going to help when the injuries get bad. And for some reason their front court just always manages to get hurt, and you need that explosiveness. So I personally would take Jaden Quaintance here because he did show a lot of explosiveness while he was at Kentucky, and his ability to play from the 3 to the 5. Granted, he didn't do the 5 too much, but it's there. So if the injuries do hit Miami, as they tend to do, you have a guy that can play multiple positions right away. And I wouldn't deem him too big of a project, but he would be put into that spot to be a defensive presence as the stars are kind of getting their breather. So I would take Jaden.
You have to get Norman Powell, all-star, some help,
So now with Charlotte, I think that they're a team that is in need of a big, and I would just take a Damara immediately. Like, he can get on the court right away, and I think that with the shooting power that Charlotte has, a day's ability to get offensive boards, there's not necessarily a big worry for crashing the boards like they had in years past, but having such a smaller lineup as they have in years past, I think it'd be really good for them to have Mara kind of in the wings ready to start crashing.
Okay.
Now we got the Bulls back again. I personally think that here you can kind of work with a little bit of a project. And I've been big on this guy for probably a good year or so after I got to see him play in the Delta Center with New Zealand. So I think Kareem Lopez would be a nice project for them to have here. Um, I just really loved how he played. He was just really good, and it's stuck in my head. And just watching film of him over the last year, it kind of just stuck again. It was almost like rewatching old baby videos that your parents keep on like VHS. Like every time I would watch highlights of him, I'm like, oh man, he's just grown so much. So I think it'd be really cool to see Kareem Lopez on the Bulls.
No, the Bulls are at 15 right now. They're looking to move up. Maybe Thunder at 12.
Mhm.
Who do you, if the Bulls were to move up? Who do you think they're looking for at that point? Because obviously Caleb Wilson, probably a
Mhm.
4 at the next level. Zach Lawson, maybe a small ball 5. If the Bulls can move, I mean, the Bulls aren't going to move to top like 8 or 9. They can probably move into the 10, 11, or 12 range. So like, is Braden or Finland or Yaxel, are any of those guys better on the Bulls than they would be on the team that we have in Bachelor right now?
I think Quaintons would be really good for the Bulls.
Okay.
Like he's that guy that definitely brings that angst and aggression on the court, which I think the Bulls like they have it, but it's in spurts. And I think that he'd be somebody that could try and bring that to that bench unit that maybe is lacking ever since they uh, made their large trades during the trade deadline, especially moving on from Kobe White, that guy that definitely brought a lot of angst onto the court, the guy that was hyping everyone up. Having that gone, I'm really curious if the Bulls did move up to say like 12. I think it'd be a really good move for them to get Quaintance because they're getting somebody that can have that sort of control over a unit, just like Kobe White did.
I mean, Grizzlies pick number 2 here at 16.
Um,
This is one of those drafts that the Jazz with only one pick, but it's been again, one pick at number 2 is probably better than 3 picks at 9 through 25 or whatever. So
here I would probably take Cameron Carr, just to give some guard play to Memphis. I mean, especially since there are the rumors on whether or not John Morant will stick around. Um, I think that Cameron Carr would just fill that backcourt a little bit more,
yeah,
and then you'd be able to spread the wealth. Maybe he can be a guy that can help out Walt Clayton Jr. So it'll be interesting to see who they would take there.
take over Walton Jr.'s job probably. So Thunder pick
Then you
number
get the
2.
Thunder again. Since they've already like addressed their problem, I would just say take the next best available player. So take Steinbach here. Charlotte. Here I would probably want to take someone that is ready right away, which would go ahead and be Bennett Sturts. I think that even though he is 6'4", I would probably put him more at the shooting guard position. Even though he was only around like 19 points a game, he is only at like 4 assists a game as well. But I think with how quick the Hornets like to play, especially if he's going to be playing alongside, say, Kobe White, I think that he's somebody that could definitely benefit from the quick shoots from the corners or from the wings. So I would take Bennett Sturts here. Toronto, I think somebody that would benefit a lot, and I think Toronto could really capitalize on him learning from his play. I think Merez Johnson Jr., I think he could learn a lot from Scotty Barnes. I think it'd be really interesting to pair them up together and kind of set up like a mentorship between the two. And I think Merez could probably bring a similar type of gameplay that Scotty Barnes does to the bench unit. So I think that this would be a really smart play for them to do this.
The runner-up to the NBA championship, the Spurs.
So now with this, this one, I'm kind of torn because I do like Chris Sinek Jr. I really do like him. I love the way he played when I did watch him play against Utah. Um, but I also really like Koa Pate here. Like I feel like Koa Pate could maybe fill some of that void that their bench unit was lacking in the playoffs, because we all know that the moment that Wemby gets off the floor, everyone's going to try and attack the paint. Well, Koa Pate, he has a huge wingspan, and he has the ability to play either the 3 or the 4. And, you pair him up with Luke Cornett, there's going to be a lot of ground that's covered with Koa Pate. Well, even though his wingspan is what is really attractive for me, Snack Jr. has an extra 3 inches of height on. But also on top of that, like, he is just going to get board after board after board, where Koa Pate might be more of your scoring option. So at that point, it's more of, would you rather have somebody that can support Cornette on the board, or do you want somebody that can stretch out the floor on the offensive end and just leave Cornette down in the paint to get some offensive boards? I personally think that there were more rebounds that San Antonio should have had in those finals, and honestly in the Western Conference finals. So I personally would take Snack here, just because you are going to get more rebounds, more offensive opportunities, and with how a lot of teams were crashing with San Antonio during the playoffs, you're going to have 2 or 3 people wide open for 3 if you do get that offensive board. So I would go with Snack.
Detroit, Rock City, Detroit. Obviously disappointing playoffs, but one of the best teams in the East. They've got a couple of restricted free agent problems. What hole are they filling with their pick at 2021, which is a pretty good pick for being how successful they were?
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, and we're also not really like used to them being here too often. So like,
I mean, this was like a multiple. I think this is a Minnesota pick. They did trade and all this stuff. There's a bunch of swaps. That got them to 20. Again, 21 is like, if you're not rebuilding, you're probably not that excited about 20. But for a team that has championship aspirations, picking up somebody at 21 is probably, same thing with San Antonio. A team that was just in the finals getting a pick 20 is really good. I'm assuming these picks have changed hands multiple times in the last couple of years. So
and like at this pick too, like you got to think of like what their free agent options are looking, because Jalen Duren, he's going to be an RFA. Tobias Harris is unrestricted, and then like Kevin Herter is unrestricted. So there's going to be some spots that need to be filled, but it seems like it's more of an across the board type of thing. As far as who I think could fill any sort of void, um, who do I really want to take? Um, I
just
I would I would probably take Christian Anderson.
okay.
Um, he is more of a like ball first type of guard, and he was definitely slinging the rock at Texas Tech. So I personally would probably take him in this position, even though the guys that I just mentioned, he does not fill that void. But there are so many other guys on that Pistons team that can slide through multiple positions. So maybe getting Christian Anderson in there, 6'3" guard, have him be your backup point guard, backup shooting guard, secondary ball handler for the bench unit. I think that he could definitely turn some heads, especially if he's going to be taken at the 21st pick. Probably not going to be on a lot of people's radars, but on mine.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, now we're getting to like, okay, mostly fit, mostly, what's the upside picks, like who's really interesting. Sixers, again, a team that's in flux, embarrassed in the semifinals. Probably switching more from an Embiid, Paul George team to a Maxi, VJ outcome team. Is this where you have Pate going?
So I don't have Koa Pate going here yet. I think that there's a better option for him. Um, Even though it's like him dropping. Granted, some mock drafts have him barely even in the first round, but I have a different team that I'd probably wait for Koa Pate. Um, here I'd probably go with Ibuka Okori. I think that um, smaller guard. That's something that Philly is used to having quite frequently. Even through their history, they're used to having some smaller guards. Um, and I just think that he has the ability to just absolutely shred through defenses. I mean, he's definitely a score first type of guard. So maybe he can learn a thing or two from Tyrese Maxey, being able to protect the ball, driving into the paint, going up against NBA talent front courts. Um, but what concerns me at this point, because now we're in the point of the draft where there are cons that are going to be pretty glaring. Um, he he's not one to necessarily pass the ball too much. But I think where Philly might be willing to overlook that is that he's definitely an on-ball guard. He will want to try and take the most talented player one-on-one, but he almost had 2 steals per game last year. So I'd be willing to let him experiment with it. I'm really curious to see um, if that defensive prowess will really show up in summer league. I really hope it does. Um, but I think that Philly's defense was definitely lacking this past year, and I think that Okori could probably help fix that a little bit, especially on the bench unit.
Okay, as we go, put that, finish up the first round. Just go put them in, and we'll talk about them real quick. The players that we took as you're clicking here.
Okay, so next one I would take Jalen Swain.
Dylan Swain,
Atlanta needing someone to score.
23. Okay,
Um, Koa Pate is I put in New York. I just think it's a good fit
gross,
for him. Then the
gross.
Lakers, I think that they would go with Isaiah Evans. I think that he is definitely going to be a sleeper in my opinion.
Okay,
Then with Denver, I think that they'll try and go big, so we'll get Usar right here, more traditional center. Boston, I think that they will probably try and get some sort of guard play just so then they can try and take some attention off of Jason Tatum. And then with the rumors with Jaylen Brown, you're going to need some sort of ball handler. So that's where we'll get Malik Thomas. Minnesota, I think that they will probably want to get. They'll probably want something that's more score first. Um, So if we were to go that route, you'd probably go with Joshua Jefferson from Iowa State. Cleveland, they need anything and everything, so just go with the best player available. So I would go with Alan Graves, Santa Clara alum, so cool stuff there. And then Dallas, wrapping it up. Again, we had already shown with Dallas earlier that they probably needed something in their front court. I think that they will probably double down. I don't know. I don't really have like a true reason why, but I mean, if they're wanting somebody that can get you like 20 and 10 a night, I think Terrace Reed Jr. could eventually become that type of player for them.
all right. And I think we will talk about this draft. Loving, obviously not just the top four, but 5 through about 9, 10 gets a lot of love. But there's also guys after around the 15 to 25 marks that people are. Is there a guy that on there like the Jazz? Do you think the Jazz might be linked to in the next 5 days? Or like, okay, not only do they want the top 2 pick, but they want to trade back in, like the Hawks, the Knicks, the Lakers. Somebody might say, or the Nuggets, someone that might give up this year's pick for a future asset or something. If you're the Jazz and you're trading away a future first, is there a player in this like bottom half of the first round that you're like, okay, we want to give up a future asset for that guy?
Um, if I were to trade up for any of these guys, personally, again, I'm very hooked on Isaiah Evans. I think that he is going to do some good stuff in the league. It's just a matter of when, not if, in my opinion. So if Utah wanted to try and get back into the 25th, I think that that would be really interesting for them.
So, and you'd be okay giving up a future, let's just say top two protected first in the upcoming year?
I would say if we're going like, especially like being tail end of the first round. I mean, if I'm the Jazz, I'd probably want to throw in like the 2029 pick or something.
Okay, I get so top 2 pick.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Like just something around there. If not him, I think that Sinak would be a really good option too, because we don't necessarily know what Utah's plans are for Kyle Filipowski, because he's essentially on a year-to-year tryout going forward. So if you want a cheaper option that might be able to do the same thing, might be worth taking that pick, and then again maybe doing the 2029 pick again with San Antonio. But I think that those are really the only two guys that I would probably take the risk of trading a future first rounder.
Okay.
Everyone else, I think they are too large of projects to bet a first round pick on.
Okay. And then obviously the other big name that I'm looking at right now, 35 on their best available list, BYU guard Richie Saunders. Do you think he goes up 30? So right now the Spurs are at 35. Obviously, second round you're going to see a lot. Obviously with the break between day one and day two, a lot more trades could happen. It's not the speed round anymore. Somebody could trade up into that top. I mean, Richie started the draft process probably near the 40s or late 40s.
I was going to say, I think at the combine they had him listed at 58.
Yeah, so he's moved up
he's moved up quite a bit.
Yeah, obviously a lot of people went back to school and whatnot. So if somebody wanted him, there's probably a team that the Grizzlies, like any of these teams, the Knicks.
Plus it's the second round pick, so it's not like you're really losing out on anything. It's really a 1-year contract with a team option after. So like worst case scenario, you try him out.
You could do what I think they gave Filipowski something like the 4 years guaranteed or whatever. So, but I'm just saying, like there are teams that I can see, the Knicks or the Grizzlies. Somebody could sell their pick. I don't know what the price would be. Let's say it cost you 3 second rounders to move into the top 5 in the second round. Is that too much? I mean, I think there are a lot of people who like Richie Saunders who wouldn't mind giving him the year to rehab. But is it too much to trade 3 second rounders to get a top 5 pick in the second round?
I will say I would do that for 4 different players that are on the list that we can see on the screen.
Okay.
Alex Karaban. Okay. I think that he will be very sufficient for whatever team he goes on. Richie Saunders. Everybody needs a shooter, and he will shoot. Now it's just whether or not you are open to letting him to recover. And I think that there are some teams, especially for a second round pick. Sure, why not? We'll recover, maybe get some rehab games with your G League affiliate. Why not?
Plus, Orida served at the concession stands. So,
Bruce Thornton. I think that he will be a really good point guard option for some team, but I do think that he will definitely need some time in the G League, because we saw how him and those Buckeyes crumbled in March Madness this year. Even though he had a lot of heart and soul behind him, I just think that he'll need a little more time. He'll be more of a project, but I do think he has some high upside to him. And then kind of same case that I mentioned with Richie Saunders. Everybody needs a shooter. And Emmanuel Sharp, he is a sharp shooter. Witnessed that firsthand. I think I witnessed him make like 8 threes.
I'm very high on the Big 12 teams this year. Very high. So, yeah, okay. I mean, those are some interesting names. That, again, you can pay the price, and maybe it's just cash. Maybe somebody just wants to take Ryan Smith's money, and you can just buy a second round pick. It does seem like buying early second round picks are going to be harder this year than it has been years past. So, some good names. So ESPN Analytics. Go check out the 2026 NBA Draft Simulator by ESPN Analytics. Pretty good first round. Again, it's really funny because once you start getting to like the Nate Immense, Cuff, Braden Burries, Keith Waggler's, Mikel Brown. I just like, man, am I glad I didn't have to hear these guys' names. Look, I think there could be one to, I do think that maybe somebody after the top 4 could be the best player in the draft.
I mean, I've already mentioned it to you. I think Kingston Flemings might be that guy.
Yeah,
I think that he could be that guy.
But we live in a world where we don't have to worry about that. We live in a world where the Jazz are going to take a safer bet to have a great career. Doesn't mean they're bad. But there's a chance that there's a hidden gem, and a lot of people love that little 5 through 10 range. But I mean, the Jazz, the last couple of times they were in that range, Cody Williams, Taylor Hendricks, NBA players, but not guys that you think are going to be multi-time All NBA guys. So. Alma Bean, like this is something that StreamYard is something that you and I had talked about like 6 months ago, right?
Yep.
I showed it to you and you're like, I want this, and you went and bought it.
Yep. So it's actually been longer than 6 months. I actually just redid my annual membership on it.
Yeah. So obviously we're in the new, maybe de facto high note studio. We'll see. But how's the move going?
So as of right now, I will be sending my new landlord the last bit of the money. And if I remember messages right, which I could be wrong, who knows? The person that currently lives in the room that I will be moving in, he moves out on the 18th. So today, now, as we are recording,
midnight 30 right now.
And then she is having the room professionally cleaned on the 19th. And then she said, if I have all the money to her, I can start moving after everything is clean.
All right.
So that means that the 20th, I'll be able to move into my new spot. I pretty much have all of my like living room stuff all situated. Now it's a matter of dealing with this mess.
Yeah.
Which there's a lot of extra stuff here, but I also will be working the Salt Lake Bees game on Saturday. So I won't have the ability to move anything on Saturday. But once I get off from my day job Sunday morning, I get off at like 1 in the afternoon. I plan on going all in, like mattress, everything, take that over to the new house. Especially since she's being so nice of not charging me to be there for the extra days that I'll be there. So thankfully, I don't have to be out of this current spot until July 15th. So I don't have to necessarily move everything all at once. So I'll probably just move like the bigger things like my mattress, dresser, television, the desk, all of the studio stuff, move that all over. And then over time, move like a portion of my closet. So like the main things that are in my rotation, I'll take those over with me. But maybe like the jerseys that I have on the other side of this camera.
We've all moved, and you're giving us anxiety about moving because if you've ever moved, you're like, oh yeah, I remember.
And especially like with how last minute I had it too. Like I had to scramble to try and get everything. Like I have 8 27-gallon totes because I didn't want to put boxes together. So I just went to Home Depot and bought the totes. I'm like, fair. You know what? If I end up moving again, I already have the bins. We can just put stuff in there. Good. So I'm really looking forward to it, especially like location wise. It's going to be in Sugar House. So.
Sugar House. Okay. Well, I mean, hopefully you're not moving Tuesday in prime time.
No. I am making sure that like I am not doing anything that day. Worst case scenario, I'm working a Bees game, but at the same time, like I will be so focused on the draft. I might miss a highlight. Who knows?
Alma Bean gonna be at the team store Wednesday to add a new jersey, maybe two, to the collection. Wednesday
night. So down too.
Yeah.
I'd be so down.
Go follow Alma Bean at Bean on the Scene 1 at Bean on the Scene. I almost just read your old.
How dare you?
Yeah, like
he is long gone.
Alma Bean
selling crypto in somewhere
on Twitter, on the Twitterverse, Instagram. You can follow me at Who's Translated as HUUTRA Superman. That was our mock draft episode. That was our Walker Kessler episode. Thank you to the BLEAV Network. Thank you to the brand new Probably brand new high note studio. I mean, our old high note studio got demolished. So
Yeah, now it's all audio players.
yeah, like 2 months after I left there, we're just gone. So
It's so weird because it's always dark over there. Like I never see anyone in those studios. Maybe they only record stuff during the day.
Yeah.
But like every time I walk by, it's just dark hall.
I wonder what happened because like we would always record and they had mirrors or not mirrors, windows between the two studios, so we would always see the guy recording at 12:30 a.m. on a Wednesday night.
Recording. I don't see that guy anymore.
Don't even know what he was recording. So
yeah, I don't even know what he's recording, but it was kind of nice, like a nice little sign of life at the end of the day.
So I was like, hey, there's somebody else here recording late at night. But follow Jazz High Notes at Jazz High Notes number 2. That's from Rock Draft, and hey, we're at the finish line. Go make your bets on who's it going to be. The boss, Peterson, Boozer, maybe some wild card. Who knows? But Alan B and I will be at the team store Wednesday buying our new jerseys. So thanks for joining us, folks, and we'll see you guys next time. Play the music. Play the music.
Da-da.